Right, so let's look at this lab where we're going to use a Metasploitable website and then a vulnerability scanner, and this will be Kali. So you should find that the host will connect through the DHCP, and you'll be allocated an IP address from them. Okay, so one of the main things we'll have a look at is how we discover vulnerabilities on websites and how we can go forward and exploit them. Also to be able to understand what the web logs will actually look like for each of these attacks. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is that we'll actually open up our two virtual machines. And here we are. So we have a Kali one. And then we have a Metasploitable one. Okay, so let's place that one there. And then the other one here. Okay, so I've started up the user interface on Kali. What you can do is I'll just restart it. In fact, I'll just restart both of them just so that you can see us back at the starting place. So power that one off, and then I'll power this one off too, and then we'll just start back up again. Okay, so we should be able to get started from there. Okay, so we're going to go from the Kali machine into the Metasploitable image and be able to run various tools from there. Okay, so that's our Kali instance started up, and the Metasploitable one is getting there too. Okay, so there we are. And then for this one, we can log in. Let's try that again. Okay, so we can get logged in. So what I'll do is I'll just start the X Windows server so that we can get a graphical interface on our Metasploitable instance. So the first thing that you need to do is to get rid of this lock on a file, x0 lock. Okay, so this is fine. And that's us started up with our Metasploitable instance. Just right click and you should be able to bring up some terminals and so on. So let's just bring up a shell here. There we are. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to have a look at what our IP addresses are, because we're going to go from one machine to another. So that's 10.200.0.47 there, and then over here, and the MAC address is this one here, and then over here we have 0.24. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a quick scan of the network to see what hosts are actually alive, and we do that on a 24-bit subnet mask. It just takes a little minute to run. Okay, so here are the machines. There's the default gateway, and we should be able to see 47 appearing quite soon. and it is there. Okay, so there it's there, there's the MAC address and so on. Okay, so what we'll do next is to actually have a look at the ports, the web ports. It's web that we're mainly interested in. So we'll have a look at the ports for 80 and 8080 are the two default ports that we're going to use, and then we're scanning 47. Okay, so we can see here that we have HTTP and HTTP proxy set up for 80 and an 88. The next thing we can do is to be able to look at the -SV to be able to fingerprint these services that are the web services that are running. And there we go. We can see it as Apache, HTTP, daemon, 2.2.8, Ubuntu, and so on. So often what we do is we now look at we look at the service using netcat. So we'll 0.47 on port 80. We do head /HTTP on point 1. Press return a couple of times, and then it comes back with the server information. Then we can do the same with the options request. You can see the options is given as some information about the website. What we'll do is over here we'll then have a look at the logs. So we'll find them in var log and then Apache 2. We'll have a look at the tail of access.log, and we can see there's the head and the options. Okay, so we can actually see the return. There's a 400 to return rather than a 200, and we can pick up from the log the IP address and so on. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to run Wireshark over here. We'll just run it as sudo. Okay, so I'll just move that one there. And then we're going to run nick2 on the host, and we're going to this address here. And then we'll just capture that data. So we might see a lot of background data. So what we'll do is we'll just focus on the traffic that's going to our target. 47. Let's just check. 47, that's right. Okay, so that's us capturing the traffic now. And we'll just have a little look to see what this tool is actually going to give us. Okay, so this is going to do a vulnerability scan to be able to look at common exploits and so on, and actually have a look to see what problems that we might have on the site. Okay, so what you can see from the trace is there's a lot of probing for different types of vulnerabilities. There's get docs and so on. So it's obviously using HTTP to be able to get access to the website and discover the vulnerabilities actually on them. Okay, so already it's found there is a test folder, icons, and here is a php info.php file. There's my php my admin folder can be accessed. And if we look at our logs over here, we'll probably see lots of accesses for different types of files, all from the same IP address. Okay, so this tends to be a high octane scan, as we can see from our Wireshark trace. Okay, so we'll just stop the Wireshark trace, and then we'll have a look at some of these vulnerabilities just to see if we can pinpoint what they are. So the PHP info file is an interesting one. So we're using a LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So my PHP info is just a little page that gives us some information on the PHP environment itself, and often used to debug. But if we leave it open, then it can actually provide a whole lot of information there. Okay, so just let me change my proxy. We'll come up against this later. So this is using a proxy to be able to get to our destination. So let's say no proxy, and we'll go directly. Okay, so with this page, it can actually give away quite a bit of information about the environment and so on. So it's not a good idea to have that exposed. It's also saying that the doc directory is there, which is a bit worrying, and there's a test directory. And there's an icons directory on the top level. Not quite there, but it's found that. And you can see there's a number of other vulnerabilities that it's actually found. Okay, so the next tool that we're going to look at is Vega, and with this we can actually scan for all the folders that are actually on the site, giving us a full structure of the site. It will also give us key alerts. Okay, so we can go ahead and scan. But this is a previous scan here that we have, and we can actually see here are all the folders, the directories on the site, and these are all the links that it goes to, and it gives us a number of alerts. You can see here there's 12 here. Clear text password over HTTP, not really a good thing. That should be HTTPS. And there's some scripting errors, problems, and so on. Okay, so Vega is a good tool for us to be able to detect a scan, to scan for vulnerabilities and understand the structure of our site. So when you run it, you should be able to see. We'll just start a new scan again. And we'll go for 10.200.0.47. Okay, so that's fine. And there it goes. So let's look over here. And there we go. There's the sign of Vega there, and you can see it's starting to look into different folders and so on, looking for all the files and all the contents. So we'll just actually stop that scan. Again, have a look with Wireshark and see what it actually shows. Okay, so that's an interesting package. So now what we'll do is we'll have a look to see if we can actually find all the folders on the site by doing a scan of the system. So in this case we're using the dir buster, and we'll just find the site there. So on port 80. We'll increase the number of threads just to make it a bit faster. This can take an awful long time to do, so we'll just do a very quick scan. So where we want to go is in user, share, and then into, oops, here, and then into wordless, and we'll just do a small listing. And everything's fine. So then we'll just go ahead and we'll do a scan. Oops. So let's put in the protocol. That helps. And there we go. Okay, so it's now doing a scan there. Right, so while it's scanning there, what we'll do is we'll let it scan for a little minute, and then we'll just stop, and we'll actually have a look. Okay, so here's the folders and the response code. We're getting 403s for this one. That is not accessible for CGI bin, of course. And for other ones, we're getting a success code, and it should show us the files that are actually in them. Okay, so if you search around, you should be able to find various things like the PHP files and so on. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we'll set up burp suite to be able to act as a proxy between ourselves and the remote site. So in this case we'll be able to intercept and actually have a look at the traffic that's been generated and change it in some ways. Okay, so our proxy should be set up for intercept, and this is the interface that it's listening on. So what we'll have to do is to go to our browser, and then set up our proxy so it doesn't go to the website, but it will go to 127.0.0.0 and port 8080, so that's fine. Okay, so now what will happen is that when we access a website, it will go through the proxy, and we should be able to intercept the communications. Okay, so let's go to our website. Okay, so we can see what happens. It stalls because it's not actually, it hasn't actually gone through yet. It's waiting here for us to be able to have a look and intercept it. Okay, so there's the request, and then what we'll do is that we can send to the intruder. Okay, so if we have a look, okay, so we'll forward that on, so that then gets forwarded, and then we get our response coming back. So we can actually have a look at that. Okay, so there's the request, and there's the response coming back, and then we can render that if we want from there. So let's look at the intruder tab. Okay, so we can copy our request in the intruder tab if we want, or we can paste one in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to log in here, and again we'll capture that one. So let's, okay, so forward. So what we want to get is the login.php screen. Okay, so we just try login. Okay, so here's the get. So what we'll do is we're going to modify the get here. So what we'll do is that we're going to modify this one, this parameter here, and we're going to then create multiple words to go in this place and then try them out. Okay, so we'll just copy that, and then we'll go to the intruder and we'll paste it in there, and then what we'll do is we'll identify this word here, and then we'll add that as a payload position that we're interested in, and you should see it changes the actual value. So next what we're going to do is we're going to change this login to go through various iterations. So if we go to payloads, and now we're going to add a few different payloads. So let's say we're interested in accounts.php, we're interested in access.php, accounting.php, admin and administration. Those are all interesting words that we could probe for. Okay, so what's going to happen is it's going to replace login in the get with this payload. Okay, so let's go ahead and send that. So we'll send that to there. There we go. Okay, so let's have a look at our log, and we should be able to see. There we go. There's our pages getting accessed. There's administration.php and so on. Okay, and then from here we can actually have a look at the response that came back to look at the page. Let's just go again. Okay, so there's the response to the accounts. The accounts.php file. Okay, so you can see it's a very powerful tool to be able to go through lists and to be able to probe for information. So the next thing we'll do is we'll have a look at using a tool such as Hydra to be able to do a brute force attack on our web's server. Okay, so let's actually have a look at the first thing we do with Hydra is that we create a user list. So we'll go for an administrator, admin, root, and guest. And then we'll do the same for password file. Okay. So then we can run Hydra with our user list and with our password list, and then the IP address of the server, HTTP post form. Let's just take it from our Word document or a PDF that you have, just so that we don't have any typos in it. Okay, and just fill in the IP address here, 10.200.0.47, and there we go. So you can see there it's found admin and password. If we have a look over here in the log, what we should see is lots of accesses to this login page. Okay, so we can't see too much detail there, but there are continual accesses, 200, 302 for the accesses there. Okay, so the other method that we can actually use is to use burp sweep. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just start this one off just to show you how to do it, and then you can finish it yourself. Okay, so the key thing we want to do is to be able to get to the login page, and then we'll capture we'll actually capture the response, the request. So we'll just forward that one. Okay, so let's just go for a sample login. Okay, we'll just forward that, and even though it will fail, we want to actually be able to examine the login. Okay, and here is what we want to change here. So we'll just copy that. We then go to an intruder, and then from here what we can do is identify this one as something we're interested in, and also this one. Oops. Okay, so we can look at our payloads. And we can go for admin, administrator, root. Okay, so we have our list there, and then we'll just add in password. Okay, then over here we should see these multiple logins there again. Okay, so that really just shows you an example of how we might use this one to iterate through the usernames and passwords. Okay, so for the next part, what we'll do is we'll inject some JavaScript. If the web page is not checked for the input, then JavaScript can actually be injected into the page. So we'll just open up the DNS lookup page. It's a simple PHP script. What we'll do is we'll just get rid of our proxy. Send it straight through. so in this case it's just a simple page that takes our code, our domain name, and then gives us some IP addresses from them. When we actually look at the code, the code that comes through is that this word here comes straight through from the user unchecked. So what we can do is that we can then put in a script. What we'll do is we'll actually run burp suite and have a look at the request. Okay, so we'll go settings, there we go. Okay, so let's do that again. .com. Okay, so then we go to, let's start up burp suite. Okay, so let's do it again this time. Okay, so that's it coming through. So then we forward. Okay, and then we go back here to look up, and then we'll just let that go through. And we should be able to see the result coming back. Okay, so the second thing we did there was a post. And we can see here is the post that happens, and there is the details that goes through. So if we actually look at the response, what we should see is the code, and then what we can do is that we can have a look at playing this back. So we'll go to our repeater. Okay, and this time what we'll do is we'll change this one to intel.com. And let's do a go. So what we have, so we can see we don't actually have the connection to the destination, so we just need to set up the target here. So we need to modify the target here for our repeater, and we're going to 10, 200, 0 and 47. Yep. And now we do it. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's what comes back. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare the responses that came back. Okay, so this is one of the responses. We go to the comparator, paste it in there, and then we'll go to the other one that we did for Intel.com for Google. Here we go. And we'll paste that one. Okay, 2 different times there. So we're going to compare the words. And there we go. So we have 21 differences here. See, the time was different and so on, but the main differences should actually be a bit later on, where we'll see that we'll get the difference with the google.com and also with Intel.com. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so the main differences between the pages are these 2 elements here. And the key thing to see is that all that's really happening is that whatever we put in actually appears here. So the next thing we're going to do is to be able to inject some script into there. And because this is really just appearing straight as text. There's been no check on the user input here. Never trust the user input. So we'll just put up an alert box. Okay, so let's send that through. There we go. Okay, so there's the JavaScript coming through there. So if we wanted, we could actually have a look at that coming through. And see the code that we've actually inserted. So if you actually look at the HTML code, then it's possible to, all the links have identifiers on them. So we can actually modify the links, and again what we'll do is I'll just copy from here just to make sure I've got the right string. Okay, so we look for the A tag and we look for A tag 0, and then what we're going to do is replace that with the BBC site. Okay, so that goes in there. We do a lookup. Doesn't look like much happens. And the reason for that is that we need to send it through. Okay, it doesn't look like much has happened there, but there we go. See, BBC. And if we click on this link, and then unfortunately, oops, we go to the BBC site. There we go. So I get to the BBC site, and that's it. So it should call up BBC site in a minute. Maybe there's more things to come through. So what we're going to do now is to actually have a look at how we can set up a remote script. Often what happens is that an intruder will load some special JavaScript into the site. So we'll set up on the Kali machine, we'll set up the web server, and then what we'll do is we have some test JavaScript in here. It's just a simple one. It's just going to load a graphic and so on. Okay, so now what we'll do is that we're going to load the script from our own site, from the Kali one, to here. Okay, so our IP address is config is 24. That's fine. Okay, so we just let burp suite send it through, and there we go. Okay, so you can see that the JavaScript has been injected into the page. Okay, so let's have a look at another type of JavaScript injection. So what we'll do is we'll just start up burp sweep. And we'll set the web browser up to have a proxy. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll just access this page here. Okay, so it's going to do a password generator for this user who's anonymous, and then we'll capture it here. Okay, that's it coming through now. Okay, so here's the request. So what we'll do is that we'll have a look at that in our repeater. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just, we have the right target, yep. Okay, so there's the response back. So if we want, we could copy that. And put it into a comparator. We'll get it in a little minute. But what we'll do is we'll send a canary. And then we'll have a look at the response that comes back. Okay, so we'll copy that one. And then we'll go back here. And then we'll copy the response here. Okay, so those are different responses, and then we'll compare the words. There we go. So there's 6 differences. So we actually see that the difference, if we can search for canary, so that's our anonymous one, and then we should be able to find our canary. There it's there. Okay, so what we can do here, because that the word has just gone straight through, is that we can now replace this part. We can terminate the string, and then we can put a catch after it, and then put a try to be able to inject the JavaScript in there. Okay, so I'll just copy this from here. Okay, so if we insert that string, then that will actually modify the codes to end that string, and then for us to get this alert box to come up. So what we do is we'll take that. Okay, it probably won't go through if we just put it straight in. So what we must do is to go to our decoder, and then we want to encode as a URL, and there we are. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is to be able to open up. Well, it doesn't really matter. We can repeat from burp suite here, and now we can make the user name this, and then inject that. And then when we render, we should be able to get a pop-up box there. So let's check that we have that in place. We'll go back and have a look at our browser. Okay, we can feed that through. And there we go. Isn't that magic? Okay, so that's allowed us to be able to modify the JavaScript code to be able to get the it to display the box. But obviously, an intruder can do much more than that. Okay, so let's try some SQL injection. So we go to this page, and what we'll do is we'll just put in some dummy information, and we'll capture it with burp suite. Okay, so let's see if we can see where this came through. There it is. Okay, so that's our login. And what normally happens with SQL that's not in Jet is that we'll normally get like a select where a user, this is a variable for what comes in from the page, and this is the password, this is the other variable, and then the word goes in here between inverted commas. But what can happen is an intruder can terminate the password, and then do an OR 1 equals 1, which is true, and there's still another rogue inverted comma, so they'll put in a comment after it. In this way, this will always be true. So what we're trying to inject is this. So we would go here, and then what we'll do is we'll look at our decoder. We then put that in, and then that will give us, we encode as a URL, and then it will give us the basic string. So then what we need to do is to be able to then take that and then copy and paste, and we'll now enter that as a username, as a password. Okay, so let's check that that's okay. Okay, there's the 2D and so on. Okay, so we'll let Burp Suite send that through. Okay, so we'll just do it with an admin account. Okay, let's get that string just spot on. So at 20 we need a space, space at the start. It's missing off a little character there. Just missing off the little inverted comma there when I pasted it. Okay, so let's let that go through. Oh dear. Okay, so there we go. So you can see there, that's the problem that can cause. So if we go over and have a look at our logs, we should be able to see that SQL injection is coming through.